Why, hello and welcome everybody. Also, good morning. So today I kind of wanted to just talk about my character, kind of like some more end game stuff that I've done, and pretty much my thoughts on Righteous Fire, I guess, this league. So we hit level 100 yesterday. I was pretty happy with it, enjoyed the character a lot. Enjoyed it a lot more than the previous league, which was Mercenaries, primarily because we can kind of pivot more into health stacking, which just boosts your clear and makes you tankier. We did have quite a few deaths in the early game, so like 22 deaths. Most of this, I'll actually just remove this text here for you guys, one sec. Most of these deaths were to just like early game rushing red maps with corrupted modifiers with giga chaos damage when I had like virtually no chaos res, or like fighting the the breach bosses at the end. I primarily leveled my character with Harvey Beyond. I had a lot of fun doing it. You can see my kills over here. Everything is pretty good. 1.1 mil. I have like my pilfering ring here, so you can see everything that I've picked up on the way to 100. I thought the drops were kind of okay. Definitely like not the same as last league, obviously. With number one, they nerfed like quantity. Well, they nerfed essentially map modifier effect stacking, which affects everything, and then the removal of mercenaries, so you lose like that extra player loot. So definitely a lot less, I would say. And I think this tags the Genesis tree as well, so yeah. But today I want to go ahead and kind of talk about some life stacking shenanigans you can kind of do. And I won't lie, everything is going to get expensive, especially when I talk about it in a video, and especially because I've been talking about them on my streams. Things are already kind of expensive. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Pushing the 10k life barrier was like kind of sick, and it all kind of falls together with a few pieces. So number one, this jewel is crazy. They teased this jewel at the beginning of the league when they showed us. I think it was 100% value, and they nerfed it to 75 before we even got to play around with it, rightfully so. If you combine this jewel with tattoos here, you can see that you get 6% fire res, which is also 6 flat life regen because of the fire mastery, which is also 3 lightning res and 3 cold res because of the chieftain node, and then because it gives fire res and the way the red dream works, you also get 75% of that as life, so a 6% fire res turns into a 4% life node, which then allows you to get 4, 8, 12, 16, 20% life, along with 24% life, and also it raises the value of these nodes because they would originally be 4%, but they get rounded up to 6% because of that 3% node. So this jewel by itself is currently giving me like 1.4k, 1.3k life. Now, you take out this jewel, and you guys should know this, but in the 90 POBs, when we start pushing 6 life masteries, I'm a big fan of this life mastery setup. I've been doing it for a few leagues now in SSF, because in SSF, you typically don't have an amazing gear, you don't have the best jewels, so it's hard to justify putting points into jewels without getting them. So I kind of started doing the 6 life mastery setup, and I thought to myself, it's probably not worth it for softcore trade when you can just scale more damage, but when you have all of these life stacking mechanics, primarily this jewel, it makes this a lot stronger. And this is the 10% more life if you have at least 6 life masteries allocated. The reasoning this is so strong is because it doesn't get hit with diminishing returns, such as increased maximum life you can find on nodes like these. So if I were to respec this node right here, I will drop quite a bit of health. And one might ask, isn't that a waste of points because you're spending 6 points to get it? That's actually not fully true, and here's why. Number one, the 15% maximum life is a good node. You can find that from the body armor, right? If you read it, it says 15% maximum life if there's no life mods on your body armor. So that alone is a 15% life node for 1 point. And even the 30 flat life, as much of a meme as it seems, if I put this back and I remove this 30 life node, it's not amazing, but it still gives like close to 100 life. It'd actually give more than 100 life if I had the life mastery setup. So it's not terrible. Like, it is not the worst thing in the world. So I really like that. And then what's important to understand is that when you're scaling your maximum life, you're also getting base damage for your Righteous Fire. Why? Because if you read the RF gem, you get 70% of your maximum life as base damage. Well, essentially the only base damage you can get outside of that and energy shield. So having a big life pool allows you to scale bigger damage. So once you have a nice base and then you scale it with big increase like a Nebulous, and then you get your big damage over time multiplier that you can find on a cogwork, everything really starts to kind of snowball together, which makes the build feel incredible as you start pushing higher tier content. Of course, none of this is really needed. It just makes, it's just min-maxing the character, making it feel better. Now, on top of this, there are a few other modifiers to take into account, and let's talk about them. Number one, the helical ring. The reason the helical ring is so big is two reasons, and technically you don't really need the helical ring for like the life. It just has a tier 1 life roll. A tier 1 life roll goes really hard on your rings because you have so many sources of percent increase. And when you have so many sources of percent increase, you want to start scaling flat, because flat and increase go together. You can't just scale one and neglect the other, right? So if I were to take off my helical, you're going to see I jump down literally, 800 HP from taking off the helical. And remember, things are going to be even crazier. So if I had the jewel in, I would lose more health. If I had the mastery in, I would lose even more health, right? Another big one is pivoting off of the immortal flesh. Immortal Flesh is a really tough belt to beat. However, I craft my Stygian Vices every league by just simply using pristine life fossils. So you can find all the crafting on my website. If it's not in the website, it's in the POB, or it's in the form of YouTube videos. So over here under League Mechanic, you can kind of see that I have... where are we? Hold on, my brain. Too early in the morning. Here we go. I use pristine life fossils with resonators. Takes, I don't know, 200, 300, 400, I have no idea. It is a lot. It is a lengthy craft. But if you hit anything somewhat reasonable along the way, you can typically sell it. So this landed tier 3 maximum life, along with tier 1% life, along with tier 1 life regen, and tier 1 life recovery. It actually net me more life than an Immortal Flesh. And when you do this, you can look for an Abyssal Jewel with Corrupted Blood cannot be inflicted on you with life. So just 2 mods together. And when you do that, not only is it going to beat Immortal Flesh by a lot, it's also going to get you a skill point back on the Protection Mastery. So if we were to remove a simple life node now, because, well, we kind of deserve it, right, because of that belt, you can see now we're down to 6,800 life, and if I take that belt off, we're now down to 6,000. So you can see here with just a few key pieces, you can really start to skyrocket your HP pool, right? Other than that, everything is pretty straightforward on the character. I'm using a Nebulous. It has ridiculous amounts of increase. We got the Calandra's Touch for the helical. We have a Cloak of Flame. I haven't even target corrupted it yet because I kind of like finished a lot of stuff. I've got an Archdemon Crown, which is actually like really outdated for my gear. I need to craft the double elevated, but it has the life roll, and I'm going to drop below 10k life if I switch. My amulet is probably my worst piece of gear. It doesn't even have T1 dot multi. It just has a big life roll with dot multi. Like, it needs the +1 gems as well, so that's kind of a thing. Over here, we have the double reservation, not double reservation, the life on block reservation, which is crafted by Awakener Orbing. So you get a Hunter Shield, you get a Shaper Shield, you slam them together, and then you can, depending on the suffix you want, you can reforge Chaos, reforge Fizz, trying to hope for Fizz damage reduction, reforge Crit for crit damage reduction, and then you can work on the prefixes. The gloves are pretty standard. You get a fractured life roll, or you get a fractured life regenerate roll, depending on how expensive you want to go. And then you can essence spam it. So in this instance, Chaos Essence was spammed until we hit life regenerate and a decent dex roll. The only reason I needed to do that is when you're using the Cogwork ring, you're probably not going to have a dex roll. Otherwise, you're going to have like 200 dexterity. So it's kind of like a wasted suffix. So when you get the Cogwork, you want to make sure you get dexterity on your gloves. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. I'd say like the one special thing I have right now is I'm using Annihilation's Approach with +2 socketed AoE gems, and I hit the Endurance Charge. The Endurance Charge is like OP, but it was extra. So what I've done here is when you do this, you pivot into the Pure Might instead of the Malevolence Cluster, and the reasoning for this is because I wanted to fit Unbound Ailments in with an Enlighten, and you can see that right here. But the reason I wanted to do this is when you have Pure Might, you don't want to put Purity of Fire in the shield. Instead, you want to do the Malevolence approach, and everything is in the POB. It's in the last 2 gear sets if you're using the loadout feature. The reasoning for this is I can hit a 23 Purity of Fire in the boots, which gets us a breakpoint on the 5 max res, and then that syncs together with this node right here, which gets me 2 max fire. That allowed me to drop a 2 max fire res jewel. And then to drop another jewel, we went with a Call of the Pyre with 2% maximum fire res. Now, it is ideal to have whatever stat you want with increased Graft Blood gain. Unfortunately, there were none available with 2% max fire res and increased Graft Blood. The other one that I'm using is actually, it's Tender Embrace. Tender Embrace has a bunch of different things it can do. The two ones I'd say that are good are bonus life recovery and endurance charge. I guess it gives both of them. I didn't even know that. Essentially, what happens is when your life hits below 50%, this graph will proc. That doesn't really do too much. It is nice, but my health doesn't usually ever get to 50%. What's nice, though, is these can roll 15% maximum life, which is effectively 3 skill points on the tree. So if I take this off, I'm going to go down 300 health as well. So this is kind of how everything kind of compounded and stacked together. Really happy with how the character ended up. Like I said, compared to previous leagues, just that little extra push into life really helps the build, especially in conjunction with a 5% life on block shield. So like I was saying, pushing the character forward from here, new helmet, which would give me like 30% more single target, new amulet for +1 gem would be huge, corrupted cloak of flame for increased damage and maybe crit damage reduction, which would make me immune to crits. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with the character, I would say. Let's put everything back together and let's go jump into a quick map. Cool. There we go. I'd say one other like kind of secret nice thing about this jewel, Bellborn Red Dream, is you actually get the option of speccing Diamond Skin if you need to. It's basically 2 points for 20 Ellie res, which is a lot for Chieftain, and 11% max life. I don't actually need it. My Ellie res is crazy right now, but this is allowing me to run minus res altars because my fire res is like 400%. Which is really nice if you plan on altar farming, right? That's like one big key advantage. Okay, with that being said, I'm gonna go jump into a map. We're not gonna clear a lot of it. I know people always like want to see showcases, right? So we're just gonna go jump in. Sorry, it's at the end. I'm kind of half asleep still. Do I have I'll just do a T17. Do I have a Deli Orb though? Let me see. I have no Deli Orb. I'll just go buy one real fast. No stock? What do you mean? What do you mean? There you go. I just want one. Give me one GG.
Well, make it happen.
Okay. Now, my single target, like I said, is still not exactly very ideal, unfortunately. I might also, I probably won't die, but the crit multi with the Awakener Desolation, with the T17 mod for 200% fizzes extra damage, definitely could kill my character. Let's hope it doesn't, but it definitely could. This Katarina fight will be very long, unfortunately. My single target is, like, if you look at my fire trap, it's 1.3 million, which is not bad, but for T17 mods, you would ideally want a lot more than that. But thankfully, like I was saying, the +1 gem craft on the amulet, along with the new helmet, will provide, like, I don't know, 40% more damage, probably. Maybe not, maybe like 30% more. Might be closer to 40%. Not on the RF, just on the fire trap itself. And the RF right now is rocking close to 1.3 million. I could hit 1.3 if I drop a life node for the 10% dot multi here, but then I wouldn't be 10k life, and then that would make me sad. So here, I'm just going to go ahead and beeline and just kind of show you guys. I don't need to stand still here, right? This is not necessary. We got a Kosis here. Let's see. See you later, Kosis. Here you can see the ZDPS still not amazing. Definitely not ideal, right? But with 30-40% more damage, I think that's pretty solid for Deli, right? RF will unfortunately never be the build that's one-shotting a T17 boss, but it definitely can be the build that scales to a point where it gets comfortable, I would say, considering the rest of the map I am essentially just completely AFK, right? I decided that we're not using a bloodline. There's always an opportunity to use a bloodline. The problem is opportunity cost, right? This build is so link starved right now. I had to get blood rage on my brutal restraint. If we were to drop Ramako's Sun's Light, which would be one of the main... Oh god, she actually does hurt. If we were to drop Ramako's Sun's Light, which would be the main thing to drop, which would be right here, we would have to incorporate double curse I'd have to recraft a shield maybe to get Scorch on block on the shield. It's not fully sure if it's really like worth the extra. You would definitely do a lot more boss damage, but you wouldn't, I don't think you would clear as well because of your reliance on cursing all of a sudden. So
Your soul burns for me.
where is it? Oh, here we go. Be nice, Katarina, please. Oh, I missed the Enduring Cry. That sucks. Still want a better way to generate endurance charges on boss fights. I know the Tender Embrace stuff can work, but I'd have to go like Petrified Blood, and I don't know if I really want to do that.
Give your soul to me. Your soul burns for me.
Also get people all the time who ask for like the current POB of the character. Remember, you can always just look in the description of my YouTube bio, and you can just click the profile, copy the name, and you can just import the name into POB and you get the character. I try to avoid straight POB links on my YouTube because it just, like, people will take a stray POB and then they will never update it ever again. That's why I try to, like, force people to kind of go to my website and grab the actual guide. And if you actually want the character rather than the guide, all the information is available. You just go import it in, right? Anyway, that is pretty much about it. Hope you guys had a wonderful time. Hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. I hope your RFing is going quite well. Let me know what type of content you want to see, because we are most likely going SSF next week. I want to say next week sounds about right. So catch you guys all later. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys all tomorrow.